Efficiency, air sealing, insulation, heating and cooling. I've kind of gone over a few of this stuff a little bit. So air sealing, this is the majority of the areas that we look at, kind of the typical 3-story house or a 2-story house. Air is rising up and out. So recessed lighting, attic hatch, plumbing vents, electrical penetrations, any kind of penetrations that goes between your ceiling, these top plates in these and in the top of the walls here. That's all going to allow air to escape up and out. It goes into that attic space. If the attic's hot, and because it's nighttime and it hasn't been able to escape, that heat just sits there now. So now instead of the hot air escaping, which is kind of beneficial in the summertime, it just sits. So ideally, you air seal that whole plane and you make sure that the roof can vent. It's shading, it's cooling, it gets down to 50 at nighttime. You don't care because the ductwork is insulated, you're insulated, and you're air sealed, and you're totally separated. Windows and doors, it shows it coming in and out here and there, and it's replenishing in through that crawl space. Air sealing, the majority of it is done through caulking, spray foam. Mastic is my favorite. Mastic and fiberglass tape is a great combination. It stretches, expands in California for earthquakes and for leaky houses. Most homes, most drafty homes are not typically air sealed. That's probably 85% or 90% of the people we talk to. Most homes have equivalent of an open window and small air leaks. So again, combining all that, getting a 1 by 1 foot kind of diameter space of overall leakage. Insulation is less likely to be able to sustain temperature because there's no energy because it's all escaped. A leaky home can lead to uncontrollable or poor indoor air quality. Again, kind of what we talked about earlier. And these are just some examples. First, you want to air seal, then you want to insulate. So if you have an attic space, you have knob and tube, you've got old networking cables, you've got electrical you've been dying to do, you want to insert new recessed lighting, great time to have an attic insulation company come over, or you can do it yourself. You remove all the insulation, you clear it, you hire an electrician to come in, they can see everything, they can do all your upgrades, it's cheaper that way. And then you have the insulation company come back and they air seal. These are the top plates here on the left and the right that's showing how the top plates are air sealed. So we want to close up all those gaps, and then you would see a sea of insulation after that's done. These are insulation issues. So we have below ground insulation here on the top left. This might be, say, under floor insulation. Floor insulation's pretty much one of the biggest wastes of money you can do. Every wooden floor joist you see here is a gigantic heat sink. And what we see in thermal imaging is hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. And it's not even like this shows here on the top right where this FLIR image is at. We've got a hot space and we've got a cold space. On a floor, it's worse because the heat sinks are larger, they're thicker, larger thermal mass, and we get maybe 4 to 5 inches of cold, might be 55 degrees, and then suddenly it's sort of warmer because the floor is having a hard time absorbing the temperature above it. So for crawl spaces, there's something called encapsulation, and we can, again, you can reach out to us, we'll talk to you about that. This is an attic space below here. Lots of debris, people get roofs redone. They have workers go up there, contractors, they move stuff around. This is why blow-in insulation is so forgiving. Contractors might say, well, bad insulation is better, but scientifically it's not. It buckles, it allows air gaps to exist. It's not rodent friendly, or maybe it is, they like to nest in it more. Cellulose is borate treated, better fire ratings, even fiberglass, loose fill fiberglass, much better ratings and more effective. Easy to move around. You got to get work done. The contractor goes up there, push it out of the way. They do the work, they push it back over. Not rocket science. If you do bad insulation, everything has to be cut perfectly like a puzzle to fit into everything, and it's not cost effective. So you'll notice that most of the time, bad insulation costs more than a blow-in insulation. The right pictures, again, these are thermal imaging, something you might see in a blower door test. It's showing here 66.9 degrees Fahrenheit is the yellow, 59.1, probably a cold day. You can see that there's some coldness in the wall. That's probably leakage. There's really, really cold there. Maybe there's a hole outside from a woodpecker. Maybe it's a sconce that's a light outside on the edge of a deck, and there's just air getting through that into that space, or doorknob or doorbell or something like that. So these are all really common issues that we see. Same thing with the ceiling here, probably vaulted ceilings. Insulation is most likely was inserted maybe at the top, like a vaulted space or something. They forgot or they couldn't get to the space that's lower, and now you've got all these hot spots. That's super hard for an AC system to counteract that, or for a furnace to counteract that. Insulation, sustained temperature. Insulation is like a sweater or fleece jacket for your home. Insulation is a thermal barrier. Insulation leads to a more comfortable and durable home. Insulation reduces capacity and size of new mechanical equipment. All true. Again, if you can sustain, you can retain energy, sustain temperature. Your gas device, really, a furnace, hopefully every 2 to 3 hours, it comes on for about 15 minutes, recharges the toilet paper on the wall, recharges the shoes in the closet you haven't used for 10 years, all the objects, the toilet, the furniture. You want all of those objects, the walls, to absorb the energy from your heating or cooling device, and you want them to be able to sustain that temperature. If they leak, there's air movement through it, your closet's going to be cold. The toilet's going to be cold. Everything is going to be cold because it can't, it's just energy that's escaping. All electric HVAC options real quick here. This is going over a little bit more about that heat pump. When you're switching from gas devices to central air, there are heat pump central air. So one source, one air handler, pushing it out to all the duct work, pulling it in through the return, and that continuous loop. There are heat pump mini splits. Those are two major form factors, ducted or ductless. Ducted meaning that it's this device that's hidden in the ceiling, in the crawl space, and it connects to shorter runs to your existing registers. So if you've got a 2,000, 3,000 square foot house, and in California, we find homes with like 2 to 3 HVAC systems, which is totally overkill and ridiculous. They can install something like a mini split. They can use multiple emitters, which can be cassettes in the ceiling. They can be like this image on the left here, indoor unit. That's a wall mini split. It has a line set with refrigerant, power, and drip that goes out to the outdoor unit. That's what is extracting energy from outside in the winter to heat your home, or extracting energy from inside the house to spit it outside to cool the house. That's all the heat pump does. It extracts energy from one area and places it in the other. Your refrigerator is exactly the same thing, and it has been since the 50s. It extracts energy from inside the refrigerator, the freezer, and it spits it out into the coil on the back of it, and that's why our refrigerators are warm, especially the older ones. Let's see here. Some of the mini split systems can be used for heating water. So Bosch, Daikin, it's called air to water. So if you're trying to convert your house to electrify, you've got a domestic hot water tank or a tankless, and you've got an HVAC system, and you don't have AC yet, go for a mini split, because there's a good chance you could have a tank inside the house now without a heat pump on top of it, without a gas fire inside of it, and that heat pump's outside, and it's supplying heating and cooling for all of your needs. So that's where technology is going, and that's mostly Euro-Asia. Australia and much of southern India has been using mini split technology for 35 years. New to us, but not new to them. Electric resistance central air, stay away from it. Electric resistance anything, hot water heaters, stovetops, cooktops, if they're 100% efficient, meaning 100% of the energy that it consumes, it is converting to heat. If you look at heat pumps, they're about 4 times more efficient. So we would say for every, so instead of 100% of you using the energy, maybe now it's using only 25% of the energy it would have used with an electric resistance. So they're far more efficient to go for heat pump anything right now in this era. Duct work sealing modifications, replacement. Again, any kind of weird leakage that's showing through is going to come through as like a dirty insulation. It's going to look like it's filter, like mildew, mold. That's typically from a leak occurring through that ductwork and then going through that. And that's just a nice sign that you know you've got leakage that can be helped. The center image here is showing it's been crushed. Want to get that taken care of. Easy to replace that short run, most likely flex ducting. Flex ducting should be pulled taut and tight. I see a lot of bends here. Is that totally necessary? Can they do straight runs? You might have inconsistencies in your house. Some rooms get all the heat, other rooms get nothing. That's a great reason to have your ductwork taken a look at. Again, it's probably not a problem with the source or the furnace or the air conditioning. It's probably a distribution problem while you're getting imbalances. Taping them, sealing them. Yeah, let's see here. Duct sealing just goes more into how it happens. Leaky ducts are less likely, like a leaky garden hose. They require cleaning and air bypasses your filter. Avoid wear and tear on your furnace and air conditioning. Get comfortable conditioner, air conditioning where you want it and how you want it. So that's all from tightening or from replacing.
Jason?
And then yes.
Oh, I was going to say I took a class recently and they were saying don't use duct tape on ducts.
Yeah, that's true. So there's a specific type of tape, and it's a foil tape, and it's flexible and it's tight, and it's made to work like at -30 degrees and made to work like around 250 or 280 degrees. So it doesn't become brittle. But duct tape, DUCT, not what you want to use. You want to use kind of the silver, and it's more expensive, probably about $15 a roll, but it's great. I'm personally a Mastic fan, and Mastic is a peanut butter consistency latex goop. It comes in a 3-gallon bucket. You put on dishwashing gloves, you stick your hands in it, and you slop it on to and around whatever you're trying to air seal. Once it dries, it expands, it contracts. Once the heating system expands and contracts, it doesn't crack, it doesn't break away. Same thing with air sealing of the house. Expansion contraction does much better in that sense. So I'm a big fan of Mastic. Hard to find contractors that always do it, but there's definitely people out there. And then this kind of gets into question and answer. And then I've got in here San Mateo County Water Conservation. So these are all resources, affiliates, partners that we try to push people towards. You might be trying to conserve water. Look at laundry to landscape. That's a fun option. There's rain barrels. There's certain allowances for that. You can help clean water before it goes back into the ground by having multiple rain barrels that collect sediment, collect toxins, and you can help if you want that just to go straight back into the ground, but that can be a way to help out. There's irrigation rebates right now, landscape controller rebates in San Mateo, several things there. Their audit tool, they send you products. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but they kind of help you track down where you might have water issues for conservation. Let's see here. The Rainwater and Gray Water Collection, awesome website, nonprofit, lots and lots of education. As far as xeriscaping goes, I had a hard time finding and always have. Sonoma, Marin, they're really good about it, and Solano. But San Mateo's more temperate, and so it's more versatile. But that is a native plant list that's more drought tolerant. In affiliate programs, incentives, Peninsula Clean Energy, they've got a lot of opportunities. Definitely worth reaching out to them. Peninsula Reach Codes, that's all of the San Francisco overall peninsula trying to go way above and beyond Title 24 recommendations and trying to really reduce carbon emissions and the carbon footprint. Self-generation incentive program, batteries, that's through PG&E, so they have rebates for it. If anybody has, this comes up once in a while, maybe once a month or twice a month, someone has vermiculite as their old insulation up inside their attic. Sometimes it has, well, many of the times it was by a company called Zonalite, and they have a great insulation truss. So if you find out that you have a vermiculite in the home that has asbestos, they'll re-insulate your house. They'll remove it all, re-insulate it. So it's a pretty significant deal. That happens mostly in row homes that have drop ceilings. We see that a lot. And then the Safe at Home Minor Home Repairer Program, if you're working with anyone that's elder, I think it's over 65. If anyone has medical problems, disabilities, they have a army of volunteers that will go around to do everything from gutter cleaning to attic insulation, window replacement, you name it. They will do what they can to try to help a person that's in need. Minority, low income. We get a lot of homeowners that inherited houses when they were maybe in their 50s and now they're in their 80s, and it's really hard for them on a fixed income to get stuff done. They have property, they got a nice house, but it's hard to do updates. So that's a great and excellent program to kind of send around. And I think we've got one more. Yeah. So these are just more direct for solar PV, and then education at the bottom. So solar PV, if you are considering it, San Mateo, first reach out. If you're considering a heat pump water heater, or you're considering upgrading from gas, or you're considering solar, first reach out to sunwork.org. They're a nonprofit. They install solar or heat pump water heaters at cost. So solar at cost means 75 cents a watt to $1.50 a watt installed. They use great products. I've never had a homeowner complain. I can raise my hands up and say, yeah, you're qualified. I don't get any commission, but I've easily had 3 to 4 dozen homeowners get qualified. And instead of spending $30,000 or $20,000 on a 10 kilowatt system or lower, maybe 5 kilowatt, they're spending $5,000 on a 5 kilowatt system, including the inverter, including all the installation and the costing of the framing and stuff. So Sunworks, awesome. If you're not qualified to work through them, Bay Area SunShares is another good nonprofit to help you find really good deals. And if you're not satisfied with that, doesn't find the right fit, EnergySage.com is the Bible of education for anything solar PV, self-generation, batteries. It's stellar. They say, and it's proven that all of the web traffic combined for all other solar companies doesn't even come close to the web traffic that this site produces for basically reviews, like consumer reports for solar PV. So it's excellent. Down below there, education information. When you get some time after this conversation, watch Home Diagnosis. It's a mini series. There's 6 episodes. It's stellar. Basically anybody I've talked to, it's a good sit down, have coffee, cup of tea, watch it with the whole family. Probably see some eyebrows raise if anyone's ever complained, because this is going to make sense. This is going to tell you what you're feeling, what your experiences are. Everything I've talked about, these shows go into things really into depth. And on the right side there, informational resources, self-research, great websites that are there to help you better understand, educate, and then scientific research. What we base a lot of our best practices and recommendations on are under those sites. And that's it.
So with that, I'll go ahead and end for tonight, and just thank you everyone for joining us. I hope that you found a lot of useful information and different tips, even things like put the baby covers over each outlet. Something as small as that can help to make your home a little tighter in terms of the envelope and help you save energy, hopefully have better indoor air quality and a healthier home and happier people. So thank you again, and I just wish you all a good night.